Whereas in this situation, not only did that person know you, but you were top of mind.
I like that. Not who you know, who knows you. That's a good spin on it.
Oh my God, what's happened here? So what's occurred here?
Simon's in.
I know. Do you know what's happened here? I've actually created a new thing on Crowdcast, which is anybody can actually walk on screen.
That's not a new thing. That's an open stage, which means
but when's the last time you saw that in any live stream? It doesn't happen, does it?
Meet Your Recruiter. We did it.
Simon has just walked on, and I don't know whether I should kick him off or not. I don't know. But
you put him in the wing.
I'm happy to go.
Yeah, no. I'll tell you what. Yeah, Sai, do you want to just bog off for a bit, and I'll bring you back in a bit, because we're gonna have to do some sort of cleanup stuff before we kick on.
It's okay.
You've seen this show, Simon. You know how it works.
Bring you back in 5, okay, mate? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, welcome everybody to Brain Food Live on Air, bringing it to you every Friday. Always innovating, folks. Always innovating, and we've got like a high risk show today because basically anybody can just walk on, so just get ready. Adds a bit of spice to the event. Anyway, it's episode 280, and we are talking about, I'm launching a new series because it's coming to the end of the year. End of the year, it's going to be look back series. So every episode going forward from now to the end of the year is going to be 2024 in review. And we're going to select a topic that we care about or a sector we care about and just think, okay, what's happened this year? Today, we're going to be talking about the UK staffing market. So if you're interested in what's happening in the agency side of the market, this is the show for you. Even if you are corporate and in the house, by the way, you need to pay attention on what's happening on the other side of the fence. Because recruitment demand, where is that? Is it impermanent? Is it on contract? What's going on? All of that is kind of umbilically attached together in this game. So this is what we're at. I hope everyone can hear us okay. Just want to make sure that the sound and quality of everything is okay. So if you're on Crowdcast watching this, let me know whether you can hear me okay in the chat stream. We should be live streaming this on at least my LinkedIn. So if you can see me on LinkedIn, do let me know. Can you hear and see me okay? If so, just drop me a comment and make sure that the audio is fine there. We've got quite a few people watching on LinkedIn, actually, which is cool. Simon's back on again. I wonder whether it's a recurring theme. Si, I'm going to have to boot you off once more. Don't feel offended. I tell you what, I'm gonna have to switch that off because we need to actually get on with the show, and we can't be fiddling about this. Anyway, we have firstly, let's introduce our guest co-host, the hostess with the mostess. It is always the legendary Angela Cripps. Angela, why don't you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Okay, so I'm Angela Cripps, the MD of the Recruiting Gym. I run a team of 12.
All right, we're gonna have to get rid of Sarah. Sorry, Sarah.
I trained Sarah about 15 years ago, I think, from memory.
All right, cool.
And we have both online, face-to-face training, coaching, management consultancy, anything and everything to do with recruitment. And it's my 35th year doing all of this.
All right. Amazing. Thank you very much. Oh, folks, just for the panelists who want to come on, I'm going to bring you on in a sec, okay? I'm trying to switch that feature off, but I don't know how to do it.
Do you want to maybe co-host and I can do the bits and pieces?
Do you think I know how to do that? I haven't got a clue ever. So anyway, all right, let's first of all, because without our sponsors, folks, we cannot continue doing Brain Food Live on Air. And one of our sponsors is, of course, I think one of the most innovative products that's targeting third-party space. Today, it is Atlas. Recruit with Atlas, folks. They are a recruitment tool that's going to give you a recruitment co-pilot that's going to help you do everything end-to-end from business development all the way to the very end and placing and managing candidates. If you are not AI-enabled right now and you want to be, you probably want to check out Recruit with Atlas. I'm going to sort of share the link with you guys now. I do believe they still have a free trial here. They do. Try for free. So if you are a recruiter right now or a recruitment business owner and you're thinking, hang on, I need to actually get better at sort of efficiency, make more money, do more business, check out recruitwithatlas.com. Okay, cool. Let us now talk very quickly about reviewing the newsletter, Ange. Did you read it last week? And if so, How did you get on with it? What was interesting?
I did, yes. And there was a couple of, well, there was probably about 5 that jumped out at me. But if I'm just going to pick a couple, we came on talking about network, and that we always hear that your network is your net worth, but it's not necessary. I'm going to switch that now around. It's who you know, it's not, it's who knows you. So the one thing that jumped out at me was the Staffing 100. So the 2024 Staffing 100 for Europe list, of which 28 were women. I did count them, and some amazing women there as well. I was shocked to see, and actually put my hand up, I was only connected to about 10 of them. So there's straight away some wonderful people that I can get involved with, as well as all the others as well. So 10 of the women. But if you haven't picked up on that, and if you haven't seen who's there, there's some fabulous people in there. So let me just put that link in again, because it is important to make sure that you are listening to what they're saying, hearing what they're saying. I mean, we're talking about UK today, and there was a lot of UK people in there. It was great to see Nicola McQueen. I trained her, worked with her at Capitus. That's got to be 18 years or so ago. So when you see people coming up and where they end up, and I know you did give a shout out to a couple of people you knew as well, it's amazing. It's wonderful. So listen to them, hear what they've got to say. Obviously, we've got 3 fabulous guests today as well that are going to share that information. So really important to build your network. And I would start with that. You can't get much better than that, can you?
Yeah, I was really impressed by that list. I mean, I don't like listicles per se, simply because it's like someone's like arbitrary decision sometimes. You know, what is influence? It's like it being prominent doesn't mean necessarily you're influential, even though it can do in a way. But the SIA came up with a really cool list. I think they're doing it region by region. But I think, yeah, no reason why everyone shouldn't follow those. I think your education will improve. These are recruitment business owners. These are people who heavily involved in investments and stuff like this. They're all people like really do move and shake this industry. And so, yeah, list is there. Go and follow them. I was also not particularly well connected to that group, incidentally, and it taught me. So, yeah, maybe I need to, think about improving my network there as well. So, yeah, just shared it in the chat screen. Thank you so much, Ange. Good one. What else?
Second one was the it's gone to the beginning again. The state of the details, a report that you gave with regards to on here. There was something I wanted to pull out of this that you shared. I had it on the right place, and now it's decided to move around. Where's it gone? There, that one. The ChatGPT vulnerability matrix, because this linked to one of the other points as well. So again, looking at recruitment from our industry point of view, where are our vulnerabilities? Where is it? Okay, we're still going to need people, but yeah, if you look at that lot, so out of 12 elements, there's only 2 that are very low with regards to that risk. And then this linked to the article that you shared, which was around the death of the CV. The CV is not dead was the ultimate thing, but it's a matter of time. And I did a podcast this week on technology, and we were talking about the elements where you've potentially got AI talking to AI. So this privacy paradox and contrasting views, and you've got an AI applying for the job, you've got an AI reviewing the job, you've even potentially then got AI interviewing a potential AI avatar candidate, and where is this going to end? So I'd be interested to hear what the guests have got to say today as well about sort of changes in the market and how that's going to work.
And how smooth was Angela's screen share sort of skills there? That's kung fu. That is absolute kung fu. But yeah, brilliant on that matrix. I thought that was absolutely a screenshot worthy thing. Well done, Arctic Shores, on producing that. It basically just looks at your assessment sort of functions. Like how do you assess candidates generally, review CV, test them, interview them, and then measures them against sort of how vulnerable they are to AI-enabled candidates going through that. Definitely worth a screen cap and a look-see. And yeah, I think the post on death of the CV, I thought was one of the best things I've read for a little while. So well done, Andrew Spence, and I forget the other guy, Matteo's name. Yeah, Matteo. He the joint collab on that. Really, really good essay. Go and read both of those things. Wonderful things. Okay.
I did because I read it as Louis Spence when I first saw it, and I thought, what the hell's he doing here? I've seen him popping up on TikTok all the time recently.
Who's Louis Spence? I don't know this. Is he a
You
famous
don't know
person?
Louis Spence? Okay, go find him. I'll get the link.
All right. Who's Louis Spence, everyone? Anybody know? Am I missing something here? I probably am.
It's probably a 10-year-old reference from Pineapple Studios. So
yeah,
you know,
my problem is that I literally have not watched TV, like properly TV, for like 20 years. So I only watch sports, and now I'm like totally on YouTube documentaries and stuff. So I don't actually watch TV. So yeah, I'm culturally like dislocated from what everyone else is talking about. All right. Give us one more, Ange, before we get into this.
Oh, I linked them together, so I didn't need to give you another one. But
is that it? All right.
I had 4 in 2, so
That's fine. That's fine. Let us now move swiftly on then to talk about the state of the UK staffing market. We're going to bring our guests on to begin with, but I want you to get your views on it, Angela, because firstly, tell us that Recruiting Gym does train people, right, on recruiting skills and stuff. So, I think that's got some signals. So what have you seen on the staffing side of the market compared to this year? What's your kind of general sense of things?
Well, where we've seen the biggest growth this year, where people are willing to invest, and again, we're just one company, so whether this is industry wide, but certainly people I've spoken to are sharing that people are investing in their interviewing, in their hiring managers, in making sure that the onboarding process, right from the advertising right at the beginning and making an impact, and then bringing people through that interviewing process to the start date and then through to the first 6 months or so, they're making sure that that is as positive as possible, because what they have seen was 2022 when we had such a huge boost in recruitment, because we'd had sort of a year and a half of it all being stagnated and then it all just took off. So from that, they made some really bad hires and they made over hires, and they were put in situations that maybe they hadn't been because of the time frame and all of those issues that came out. So during 23, they had time to reflect and to see and the impact on this. So whether that has then pushed that for this year in 24, where people are really taking the time and investing in the people doing the interviewing. So whether that's the recruiter, whether that's the hiring manager, the TA, we're training all of those in a lot of competency-based interviewing as well, and really bringing the human element and the discussion and opening it up to those conversations, the bit probably that AI wouldn't be so great at. So yeah, really pleased to see that.
That's really interesting. So, I mean, basically, what I'm hearing from you here, Angela, is that there was an overhiring spree, 2021, 2022, happy days for all recruiters, as I'm sure you might recall. However, that led to a lot of people basically placed into positions that they weren't particularly skilled for, and that's good, for the companies that retain those staff, opportunity therefore to train them up. So it's a good insight.
A lot of culture mismatch as well because of the speed of it. And people were just accepting jobs because of after the COVID and all the details. They were making that switch. They were doing it too quickly. They weren't thinking.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's absolutely the case. What do you think of the state of the staffing market overall in the UK? This is, I guess, just from an outside speculation point of view, like from your friends, your contacts, and what have you. How would you? What's your intuition tell you about the state of the agency market, business-wise, this year compared to last?
Yeah, well, but being in training within recruitment, as soon as that recession hit, we saw it straight away in July last year, because obviously people start slowing down on recruitment, but again, any spend, so training always gets hit as well. So having been there 4 times before, we knew it was coming, we knew that was happening, and lovely to see both Neil and Simon on today, because our end of year, the last week of the year, we interview industry bodies, 5 of them, and identify, okay, what's happened this year, what's the trends for next year, and then we get them back the year after and we grade them. We give them an ABC grade as to how well they did. So I'm just putting that out to you two guys. I'll be contacting you to get that organised for December.
You should grade them, and let's bring them on as well as Darren and Sarah. By the way, I always do a prediction sort of series as well, and I will grade myself on those predictions. I think I've done disastrously, by the way, even though directionally, like my general forecast has been accurate, but I try to be like super specific. And it turns out that a lot of my specific predictions were literally the opposite of what I said.
Oh
But
dear.
anyway,
Well, they were really good because both Neil and Simon both said Q3. Nothing's going to move. It's not going to change till Q3. And we saw that this July. As soon as we got through, I think the election really helped as well.
yeah, we
People
needed to
just
get
went,
the politics out the way, didn't we?
yeah.
And have some clarity. But let's see where we go. I'm going to invite our guests on now. So let's roll in, see who turns up. Neil, you're coming on. Simon, you're back in. Sarah, you're in. Also, Darren Topping is with us as well. So let's see who joins us. Oh, here we are, all at once. All at once. Here we go. Sarah, good to see you. Sorry for booting you off unceremoniously earlier. I realized that I hadn't sort of set the door effectively, which I needed to do. But yeah, great to see everyone. Let's do some intros straight away. Oh, we have Darren here as well. Wonderful. Okay, brilliant. We've got full house, everybody. Let's do some introductions. Sarah Grace, who are you? What it is you do? Can you give us 10 seconds on that?
You're on mute.
You're muted. Come on, girl.
Can Sarah not hear us?
If we're playing bingo, we've probably done it well already.
Yeah. I can hear myself instead of you guys hearing me. Yeah, Sarah Grace. My company's Kate & Co. KC Group that we're trading as now. We specialise in HR, finance and business support. I do have another company called Animal People, which is another completely separate industry that we recruit into. And I've done this job since 1999, so I feel like an old timer.
Good stuff. Thanks for joining, Sarah. Love to get someone who's kind of managing a recruitment business to help us give some insight and perspective on this topic. Darren, let's go to you first. Good to see you, sir. Can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Yeah, of course, Good to see you, Hung. Darren Topping. I head up enterprise solutions, external marketing.
Oh, that's Darren, isn't it, rather than us?
Yeah, Darren's frozen, I'm afraid. No worries, Darren. We'll come back to you in a sec. Let's go to you, Simon. Simon, can you quickly introduce yourself?
Managed solutions, MS RPO, statement of work. We fill around 26,000 STEM vacancies every year globally.
Okay, thank you very much, Darren. There was a little bit of a pause, but I think we got it through. Simon, let's go to you. Can you quickly intro yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Yeah, Simon Bliss. I'm chairman of the Team Recruitment Network. We support small recruitment businesses in the UK, some 500. Sarah's one of our brilliant members, which we invited today.
Fantastic stuff. And Neil, you're a regular guest on the show. I'm sure people know you already, but give yourself, can you introduce yourself, tell people what it is you do?
Neil Carberry, Chief Executive of the Recruitment and Employment Confederation, falling out with government this week on all sorts of things on behalf of the industry.
Fantastic stuff. Good to hear, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Let's talk about the latest, the budget. I suppose that's worth us reviewing. I know that's not the core topic of where we're at, but we might as well touch on it because it does make a difference in terms of how interested companies are in employing staff. So Neil, why don't you just kick us off there? Why are you disagreeing? What was the things in the budget that you weren't happy with?
So look, I think any government coming to power would have to bust the fiscal fiction that we were living with, that tax and spend numbers as we've been presented by both parties before the election were sustainable. But to go almost entirely to grabbing your tax take from national insurance, which is a tax on jobs, particularly in the way it's been done in terms of lowering the threshold. Just means that even quite modest employers, I mean, if you have a payroll of about £3 million, you're probably looking at about £80,000 extra in tax next year. That's enough to wipe out lots of pay awards. In normal times, that's perhaps not a challenge, but in a time when, going back to what Angela was saying about predictions for this year, part of our job in the sector is to build candidate and client confidence. This is just another little knock to candidate and client confidence. So we've been in this world where I always say, if you're an economist like I am, if you're going to forecast often, so you're not too far away from the path when you do your forecast. We've been through a 2024 where, for many firms, that big turnaround, that inflection point in the market is always a couple of months away. And we're just waiting for that to happen. And we're still slightly waiting for that to happen. Go on and talk later about there being some shafts of light now in the market. But I think that piece around national insurance is just another thing that makes clients a little bit more cautious. And therefore, it's unfortunate. That's where we're coming from.
Yeah, it's been a tough year. We haven't seen some miracle turnaround, have we? It's just basically, a tough year and an additional disappointment, unfortunately. Quickly on the budget, people are nodding heads, shaking heads on this. What are your thoughts? Sarah, you got any any intuitions about what you think the budget is going to do to employer confidence?
I mean, my natural reaction is to say that companies are going to be a little bit more resistant on recruiting because it's going to cost them more. So I think there's going to be a little bit of trepidation there in the first instance, because I think there's always that when a budget comes out, everybody's a little bit more cautious. But what I'm hoping is what's happened in the past is that we just crack on with it. We can't change it. It's there. The measures have been put in place. And I think, I don't mind paying more if these things are going to be put right. I think that's the concern for me, is if these things aren't put right. So, and quickly enough, and if the economy doesn't recover, and start making some changes in the right direction, and people don't get that confidence back. So what I'm hoping is that companies just think, we've got to crack on with it. We've got to push for the right people in the right places, and there come to people like me to do it.
Yeah, good attitude. There's only so much we can control. And, government policy, I know we can influence a little bit, Neil, but it's like ultimately outside of the control of individual business owners. We just got to play the lay of the land. Simon, go to you. Do you see that potentially the increase in NI may increase, for instance, the interest in employers, recruiting non-full-time workers, for instance? Do we see a boost in, contract type market and what have you as a result of this? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sort of with you with that. The other things that worries me, and I think it concerns Neil as well, is Labour's view on temporary agency work. That they've got some policies out now with 130 pages, isn't it, Neil? That are going to potentially damage that market, which is absolutely key to UK industry. I think there's about 1 million temporary workers out each day, and I'm concerned that they haven't recognised the value of that. And Neil's done loads of work to put some pressure on Labour, on the government to focus that. So I'm hoping we can influence them with regard to that and raise the profile of the value of that temporary and agency work. And Neil, I'm going to bring you in here. What are your thoughts on that? I see the opportunity for temporary and contract work, but I am concerned about Labour's new paper with regard to what the changes they want to make.
Well, look, my attitude is very much like Sarah's, which is what you got to do is you got to crack on. And with a new government, you take the upsides, right? The upsides are we're getting access. I'm at number 10 on Tuesday. Cool. We're getting lots of access. There's stuff in the proposals, the abolition of temp to perm fees, for instance, which we have every chance of kind of getting to where it needs to be, which is taken out of their proposals. I think it's going to take hard work. They get the point. I do actually think they get the point of agency work. What they don't understand is how much the labour market has changed since they were last in power in 2010. It's a big job of work for us all to educate them on that. And as they come to understand that, and I do think civil servants looking after agency in the department get this. As they come to understand that, I think we'll see some of those policies change shape. The other thing, to Sarah's point, frankly, is if you're going to raise £25 billion in NI from business, you better blinking well deliver on the growth side. And the really disappointing thing in the budget was how weak the growth figures were. So right back to where Sarah was, they've billed us for the meal before they've served it. But they now actually do have to serve the meal. They have to do the planning reform. They have to do the public investment. All of the stuff that we know will get people picking up the phone to Sarah and people like Sarah all over the country, because they'll be generating some demand. So that demand stimulus has to come through. If that happens, then the budget's a painful moment and we crack on through. And that's probably what we're hoping for.
Yeah, cool.
I think
Cool
Sarah's
stuff.
point of I'm happy to pay as long as we see the difference, I think we're probably all in that. I think we're all agreed. We just need to see some difference very quickly. They need some quick wins. And the fact that they waited, 4 months for the budget, whereas normally every other government that's come in, it's the most it's ever been, I think, is 5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's just added to the worry, and they've just made it worse in that sense. And everyone's been holding on and holding on. So that little boost that we got in July and August, straight away, everyone stopped again, didn't they?
All right, so that's actually a really good segue to the next point, and let's do a quick timeline as to how sort of the market sort of say has responded. Would it be fair to say that we rolled into every year with a sense of optimism? That's just a natural thing that recruiters do, right? The slate's wiped clean. You got a new fresh target. Of course, you're going to smash it. That was the general vibe. But probably we realized that there wasn't going to be like a booming sort of moment in terms of economic growth pretty much early on, I would say, in Q1. And then we obviously were going to have a change of government. That created a stasis moment. So we were kind of waiting for something to happen until the government changed. There was a change, kind of mini bump in the sense that finally, at least we've got some ideas to who the next government is going to be. Not only the next government, but good chance it might be the next 2 governments. And a little bit, I think the Tories have basically burnt a lot of bridges. And I would imagine a lot of people are thinking, okay, we've got at least 4, probably 8 or more years of the same government. Therefore, we can start planning more aggressively. But then, we've waited for the budget, which took a little bit longer, and now maybe is a little bit of wind out of sails now. Is that a fair description of where we're at? I mean, I've just, that's my timeline. But anything missing from that, or anything you'd challenge? Simon, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, undeniably, the recruitment industry's been in a downturn, and this one, although not as deep, has lasted longer than COVID. With COVID, it went to the floor, but it bounced back with a vengeance, and we enjoyed 18 months of fantastic growth. But this has been gone on longer, and I think recruiters are having to do things differently. I think behaviour has changed with clients and candidates, and we've had to evolve. We've a lot of the recruiters forgot how to do business development, because there were so many jobs in 22, to end of 21 and 22. It was all about filling. Angela talked about, lots of people were hiring desperately to fulfill and deliver. But some of the skills from the pre-2020 were lost in terms of business development. So people have struggled to get back on that line. One of the reasons why I invited Sarah today to come and join us, because she's been beating the market, and some positives I know she can bring a bit later of stuff that she's been doing that's made it's allowed her to continue to grow and expand her team. But no, I think it's tough out there. Yeah. Yep,
it's tough. We don't want to belabor the point, but we do need to underline it. It has been tough. And interesting, you mentioned that the recruiter skill set, the demand for the work that recruiters are doing shifted heavily into BD. I think that was very obvious. And maybe that's even changed the makeup of the people we have in our businesses. I wonder whether that's something anybody can comment on. Like, have you seen, for instance, a churn of people that were a little bit more delivery focused, and then bringing in people that were a little bit more of a sales edge? Has that in fact been something that you've tried to do in your business, Sarah, for instance, or Neil, in your perspective as the head of the REC? Like, have you got that feedback from your membership?
Sorry. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, the market has completely changed. So you go from billing roles that are naturally coming into you to actually going out and hunter gathering, I suppose. I think the one thing that we've always done is invest in our team's training. So we have regular training with our guys to make sure that they are well-rounded. So, you know, we've got 360 recruiters and we've got 180 recruiters in the business, and it's just making sure that we are agile enough and that we can be flexible enough when the market changes. So, you know, I mean, Simon mentioned some of the initiatives that we took on earlier on in the year when our time to hire almost doubled because people were a little bit more reticent to make a decision on hiring and hiring quickly. And we've got really, really close to our clients, and we interviewed and we asked for feedback of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of our customers, and we gathered the market insight report, and it has been so invaluable because what everybody wants in this market, and we've said to them, where are your pain points? What are your pain points? And a lot of my clients' pain points are exactly the same as other clients in different markets. So we're sharing that with our clients, and it's invaluable because they want to know what's going on over the fence. They want to know that they're not the only one that's worrying about these things. They want to know that they're not the only people trying to get the workforce back into the office full time after COVID and this flexible working. So we took the view as our time to hire went up, you know, the placements weren't moving as quickly, to get really, really close with our clients. We started in sort of April, and we've produced this market insight report, which literally only went out on the 1st of October. And we're just going to see our clients face to face. And, you know, we've been on 48 face-to-face client meetings this month alone on the back of the data that we started gathering at the beginning of the year. So I do think you almost have to plan what you're going to do, because sitting there and licking your wounds and thinking, oh, woe is me, my time to hire has doubled, that's rubbish. Okay, so what am I going to do about that, and why has my time to hire doubled? So speaking to the clients and saying, look, what is making you feel the way that you're feeling, because you don't have the confidence. So what can I do about that? Can I go and ask somebody else how they're feeling and what they're doing to combat this? So I think in my mind, it's all about having the data. It's all about asking the questions, and it's literally being so close to your clients that you say, what is it that's causing you sleepless nights? What is it that's causing you to have a bit of a headache on a Monday morning? And, you know, what can we do about that? And is that the same across the whole of the West Midlands or the London market or whatever market you're in, and then feeding that back? And I think that does give them confidence, because they think, God, that's not just me. Okay, so what are they doing about it? So I think we've really benefited from having a little bit of a plan and a little bit of a hindsight back in April, and thinking, I'm not going to sit here twiddling my thumb, because we've got to do something a little bit different.
I love that.
We all want to dive in on that, don't we? Sorry. Sarah, can I just ask you, sorry to put you on the spot, but when you said it's just gone out in October, I'm hoping that you'll remember what the top 3 things. Oh, brilliant. What would you say were the top 3 things then that were the pain points? Because I'm sure the listeners would love to hear that.
Yeah, so hybrid working, massive pain point, because, you know, people want it, they've had it, you know, it's put their cost of living back on the table, I suppose, because they're not travelling to an office and they're not paying for parking 5 days a week. And I think companies now want people in, so they want to know what other companies are doing to get those people in. So that was a massive discussion point. There were certain areas, I mean, we did ours predominantly around the West Midlands. So there was 600 companies and candidates that contributed to this report. And I think what was really nice to understand is that there's some real positive things happening. You know, the West Midlands is spending money on infrastructure and building. So there's some real buoyant parts of you know, the economy out there, you know, and I think sometimes we have to look at the supply chain into those and think, you know, okay, not everybody recruits into construction. I certainly don't, but I can put a HR manager or HR director in a construction company, you know. So I think you just got to be aware of where these people are recruiting and what the companies are doing, and the ones that are having a little bit more time in the sun, you've got to be talking to them because they are out there.
Great stuff. Sarah, I just want to say, I mean, I love just the mental posture of going forward and interacting closely with the clients, not sitting back and just, waiting for better times to come. Try and get a deeper understanding of the customer base. And by doing that, you actually help their psychology, don't you? Because you're aggregating all of the information from all of these other customers, and then you can reshare it back, and everyone feels, a little bit more stable because they understand what the wider market is saying. So I think that's a wonderful piece of work that you've done. And I'm sure I presume it's already paid dividends, but if it hasn't already, I'm sure it will in the very near future, given kind of the additional elevation of your service that people might then see you as, not just as a supplier of bums on seats, but actually someone who can provide market intelligence that can help, business decisions, their decision making. So fantastic stuff. I know people are going to say, "Where can I get the report, sir?" I mean, so how do people get access to this? Is it publicly available? Is there a way in which people can get hold of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't give it to them, Sarah. Don't give it to them.
I don't mind sharing this stuff.
Yeah.
It's data at the end of the day.
Only to team members. Only to team members and friends of the REC.
So we'll just do it.
What might happen if you're not a team member, you might have to put a special request in, and Simon will give you it'll be like one of those mafia yes, no, maybe type things. Yeah,
Roman Emperor.
That's it. Good stuff. Okay, let's move on in terms of sort of sectors that we feel have been more robust in the agency market in 2024. Which ones are they? And in fact, which ones have actually struggled and look as if they might continue? Any thoughts on that? Neil, you're nodding your head.
Look, I'll build from where Sarah left us, because I love that way of thinking. And when I did my piece at the Expo early on last month, I tried to explain the British market through the medium of pies, mostly because I like pies. But the British recruitment market is huge, and the fact that it gets a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger doesn't really matter to the fact there's a lot going on. There's always activity. So, for a recruitment business, it's about finding where that activity is and where you can add value, kind of work Sarah is doing in terms of reassuring clients and sharing data. And the market's always changing. So if you're a recruitment business, you want to go to where the edge is. And that edge might be about candidate experience, as you were saying earlier, Angela. It might be about the offer around hybrid, and I certainly see that pain around kind of clients struggling with how they structure their offer. It might be about AI and technology. But if you come away from that to pure sectors, pretty much the perm market has been weak all year, and yet we see the perm market growing in health and social care, in accounting, financial and HR, in logistics and in engineering this year. So there are bits of the market that are growing. And then on the temp side, it's worth remembering that a lot of the pain on temp comes from higher costs. Actually, whispering behind my hand because we haven't published our data yet, but I think both we and I suspect the SIAC temp NFI going up this year, not down, just not by very much. And that's redolent of a very lumpy picture across, because you can see the listed staffers are dropping at 10% plus. And it's very easy to think that's the story. That's not the story of the whole market. And it's worth bearing that in mind. So there's a big pie to go for. Might be getting a little smaller. It's not getting that much smaller. And there are bits of that pie that are particularly full of plums. And the REC's report on jobs is the place to go to look at sector by sector trends. And as I said, at the moment, it's saying engineering, logistics, accounting, finance and HR, and health and social care.
Yeah, really good. Thank you for that. I love the concept also that, I mean, there is no such thing as like the market. As it's like you have to take it from sector by sector, region by region. Even like the narrower you go, I think sometimes when we get conflicting sort of a commentary or conflicting narratives, that's typically the reason, is because we're all looking at the market, but come from a different perspective and a different part of the market.
To go to Sarah's point, Hung, just to come back, just to go to Sarah's point, find where the client's pain point is. And the other thing you do in the long term, we did a load of work with our Aim Higher campaign early in the year in terms of trying to help REC members reset their relationships with clients in the way Sarah's done for her own business. There is a whole piece here about, let's be clear, margins in the British recruitment market are lower than anywhere else in the world, because we accept that we do work at lower margins. the fundamentals are that the labour market is tight. The Americans pay more for recruitment. The Germans and the French pay more for recruitment. Actually, it's behaving in this way where we're experts in helping assuage client pain points that make us a valued partner that people will pay for, rather than a grudge purchase that people are constantly trying to negotiate down. So it's great for now when we're in a bit of a flat to downturn period, but it's great for the future as well, and it's just worth calling that out.
No, really good point. And we'll talk about the volume of recruitment agencies in the UK in 2024 as well. I'm interested to know whether that's grown or shrank, or whether we're seeing like continual fragmentation of big agencies as technology, as cost reasons, and even entrepreneurial spirit takes hold. Simon, I want to go to you. Team are sort of a membership community, but that is focused on sort of the SMB type marketplace. Are you seeing anything different from what Neil has said in terms of sectoral sort of growth? You got any observations to add from that sort of mid-market side as part of the staffing market?
I think we have divisions within Team which IT, manufacturing, engineering, healthcare, driving, etc. And so we get a feel with those divisions and our members in those groups about what's happening in those markets. I can reiterate exactly that Neil's bang on with that. If you, and education especially, if you can find a teacher, you can get them a job. And driving has really picked up in the peak now, and logistics. This is the best time of the year for them. So they're so busy at the moment, which is wonderful. And manufacturing and engineering, which is a broad church, generally that is picking up, but depending on where you are with that. MedTech specifically is going really well, but especially offshore. A lot of, and Neil mentioned it earlier. Lots of our members are seeing opportunity across the pond in America and Canada and in Europe, where the salaries are higher and the fees are higher as well. So there's been a great, that's really helped some of our businesses survive and thrive by just looking a bit further afield. And the landscape has changed since COVID. People have been more open to reviewing the UK recruitment businesses, supporting them globally. So if you've got international clients in the UK, have a chat with them about their challenges abroad. A lot of our members have done very nicely out of that, significantly over the last 18 months.
Yeah, very good observation, Simon. What about the sectors that are not doing so well? And this is not to obviously damage or demoralize anybody who works in those segments or specializes in them, but I'm interested to know whether there are any patterns where you think, this area has just been really sticky, and there's going to be folks out there probably playing in that sticky field, and like, what observations can we offer those people? Any thoughts, guys?
I think some of the local generalists have found it tough because the margins are squeezed dramatically. If you're not, what Sarah's done is she's a regional generalist, but with specialist divisions, aren't you, Sarah? So you've sort of beaten the trend on that. But some of the more, I look after businesses in Brighton or Chichester, Chichester recruitment. That's been tough for those local markets, and margins have been squeezed, and of course the average fees are low, so you're working just as hard as someone, you're filling jobs on 30 grand salaries, maybe at 12.5%, which is way too low really to sustain. Whereas we've got some of our other members pitching for jobs with 75k salaries at 20% plus. It's that's been really tough, I think, for those smaller businesses, those regional smaller generalists.
Okay, would you agree with that? Just go ahead, Sarah.
Because we was a generalist for years. We was a high street generalist recruiter, that was set up in 1997 by Katie Bard. if we hadn't have pivoted when we did, and we hadn't have gone into vertical markets, we wouldn't be here now. And I do think from experience, you've got to know your market, and you've got to be, and I hate saying it, but inch wide and mile deep. So your finance recruiters have got to be finance recruiters, and your HR recruiters have got to be HR recruiters, and they've got to live and breathe that industry. You can't, in my opinion, be all things to all people. And I say this because I had a marketing division and a manufacturing engineering division and a sales division. There's better marketing recruiters out there than me. There's better manufacturing education recruiters out there than me. And I think when you're diluting your offering, I don't think you're getting as much bang for your buck, because, you know, if you're recruiting it, you can demand more money, you can demand more higher fees. You know, you can be demanding 25% because you know that you've got that corner on that market, you know, whereas a generalist is probably going to struggle with that.
Yeah, and I think generalists basically might survive best in a candidate pool market also. Whereas now, you know, you get the sense that a company might be able to just directly stick an advert on Reed or something, or say something on LinkedIn and generate a reasonable batch of candidates to plow through. So you know, maybe that's a feature as well. So very, very interesting. Folks, we're going to keep on going with this conversation, but before we do, we have to take just a mini break on this. Reason why there's only 15 minutes to go before we come off air, and we do not wish we do not wish Brain Food Live to be a conversation killing sort of event. Let the conversation continue even if we have to come off air. And the way in which we best do that, folks, is to make sure you connect with everyone who's watching this show. So take a moment, grab your LinkedIn URL, share it in the chat stream if you're watching it on Crowdcast. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, do the same thing. Grab your LinkedIn URL, stick it in the comment thread, and then connect with everyone who's done the same. Every week, people come on, watch this show, and just walk away 20, 30, 50 new connections. Why not? Become better networked, talk to people who are interested in the topic you're interested in. I think that just generally is going to help you in business and help you in your career. Cool. Okay. Let's talk about sort of the shape of recruitment agencies. So I'm talking about internal structuring here. What have we seen as anything particularly interesting trend-wise happening in 2024? I'm thinking particularly about, you know, the 180 to 360 recruiter sort of division. I'm talking about, have we offshored functions? Have we seen any, you know, significant movement of that type of activity? Where are we with, you know, remote versus on-premise, those types of things? So firstly, 360, 180, where are we with this? Any thoughts? Let's go to you first, Simon. Oh, I don't think that's...
While he's thinking, we're seeing more 240 in the sense of people, whether they're candidate or client side. The key account management element of it is really been driven upwards in the last year or so. So they're not necessarily wanting people to sell, but they're wanting them to get into key accounts and to develop business within that and identifying opportunities, because again, when it's tight, you've got to get the most out of what you've got already, as well as trying to find new stuff. So that was the big shift that we saw this year.
Yes, so 240. I love that sort of complication of that binary that I put out. So in other words, you need people maybe that are able to do that inside sale, network within an account, start generating at least market intelligence that you could use to develop business. Simon, I asked you a question earlier. I think there was a bit of a freeze on your end. I wonder whether you heard that, and if so, what's your view on internal structure of the recruitment agencies? What have you seen? Anything? And it may be nothing. So what's your thoughts?
I've seen a little bit of outsourcing, which I think has been pretty successful. A lot of people are looking at South Africa because there's some great outsourcing businesses there. The timeline works well with the UK. The candidate pool and the training that some of the outsourcing companies are doing, I think, are really good for the UK market. And some UK businesses have done really well. One thinks of outsourcing for back office and resourcing to start with, but I've seen some really great successes with people employing business developers in SA out of Cape Town and doing BD for construction businesses and IT businesses, both in the with UK offices and across the pond in America. And that's been enlightening because, you know, without being unkind, the costs are half as much. And, you know, when money is tight, it's good. And if you've got good business developers, do you want to, as Angela perhaps was inferring there, do you want to have them doing 360 all the time? If they're not so hot on delivery, if you can buy the resource at half the price in South Africa and have a really good relationship with those individuals, I think the key is making sure that you feel you make them part of a team, even though they're remote. And there's the good companies are doing a lot of onboarding training with the recruitment businesses in the UK to make sure they really get connected to their outsourced partner down in South Africa or India or Philippines, etc. Angela, have you seen much of that with your clients?
Yeah, because we've got quite a network in South Africa now, and India. So that certainly the RPO is there, and I've been out to India training them. So it's not like if you thought it was 10 years or so ago. There are some amazing companies out there that really develop their individuals. I mean, the one that I was with in Ahmedabad had 10 trainers themselves and 9 training rooms. It was phenomenal. So there's definitely great services out there. And if you can offload that bit, speed up the process. And again, they've got people all around the world. So you're getting 24-hour sourcing if you're utilizing it for that, can really make a difference to your business where you're focusing. I just noticed that Kerry Greenland talking about her being a generalist, but bringing in like team members for the niche bits, so to make sure that she can still offer that service. So again, this combination and collaboration of working together, you can do it that way as well if you need to.
Absolutely. And I've also read that, and you know, this is the beauty of team, because I can fill all my finance roles, I can fill all my HR roles, and then I've got partners in team that can fill the rest of the roles. So, but I wouldn't profess to have the biggest network of IT managers. That's just not my bag. I've got no value in there, but other people have, and you know, and this is why team really, really works well. So I'm not saying being a generalist doesn't work for everybody. I'm just saying from my experience, you know, I changed my business, and I'm, you know, and it's worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody. I think
one of the big things about this is thinking through whose lives are we trying to impact. It's the client and the candidate. So how are we going to serve the client and candidate best? And we can get a little bit lost in 361. 182. I have heard, Angela, the 240 thing, and I think it is it's gaining some ground. I had a really great chat with Rona Driggs, the chief exec of Empresaria, a couple of months back on the REC podcast, and she was talking about how much more relationship based we needed to make our sale. And what she really meant by relationship based was that they need to understand our business and what we offer better to understand the value that we drive. So it is kind of that inch wide, mile deep piece, but it requires us to get a bit more medium term in our thinking about how we structure our teams. So to the point, Simon, that you made about taking time to onboard things like outsourced partners, I've seen exactly the same trend with South Africa and India. And Angela, I'll have a guess later on who you were with in Ahmedabad, but I suspect I know. But there's a piece here about the best outsourcing firms are bringing their teams from South Africa, from India to the UK to sit with your teams to learn your business so that they know how to deal with the kind of specialists in HR that Sarah has, and then bring that back. And the market is super deep in these places, a great opportunity to explore. And coming back to both the point Simon made earlier about growing overseas in terms of following clients overseas, and this, obviously, one of the things about the REC is we're the UK member of the World Employment Confederation. I'm a director. If people are looking for contacts in market, I'm always very happy to help people with that. In fact, I'm speaking at the APSO conference in South Africa next April. So there's a whole that kind of idea of us as a global industry is growing, and there's loads of potential there within the the kind of structuring piece, the thing that's most obvious to me this year, Hung, whether you're 180 or 360, is how do we build better BD skills? Because that's where people really struggle, and understandably, because lots of people came into the industry in the sugar rush post pandemic, and how you win business in a pie that's the same size as it was last year or smaller, rather than a scrabble for new activity. It's a different world.
It's also maybe we have different ways to do BD as well now. I mean, even the old lags that have been in the business for 20 years or more. I mean, I consider myself still in the business, even though I haven't actually sent a CV in anger for several years now. But I would say my sort of BD skills, such as they were, may not be optimal BD skills in 2024, 2025. Like, surely the world has changed in terms of how people like to communicate, for instance. And I remember back in the noughties, where the phone was the dominant mechanism, the dominant channel, should I say? But I saw it give way to email. I was in that era where I saw the transition to email. Now, is email the main thing? I see people doing sort of more conversations and connections on a place like WhatsApp, for instance. So that I think we also need to think about how the BD skills will evolve, and can people transition into new methods of new modalities of communication, should I say? Okay, cool. Very interesting on the offshoring, by the way. I think that is going to be an ongoing thing. It should be interesting to see how that works. Companies will geographically disperse a lot more, it seems, because we might want to hire people. I mean, we talk about offshoring because sometimes you want to hire the person that works permanently for you, but they may be in a location where the cost is simply a lot lower, and that gives you a competitive edge. Okay. Let's talk about technology, folks, before we finish this off. Sometimes tough markets can be a motivator to implement new tech, because you think, what, we're not going to get out of this just like banging the phones. We have to be more intelligent and use the technology available for us to get more business, find candidates more quickly, run a more efficient operation. Have we seen any evidence of this going on, or are we still just, chugging away with the same old tools? What are your thoughts on this? I'll open it to anybody that wants to comment and kick this off.
I'll tell you one.
Go on, Neil. You go first.
I'll tell you one thing. I'll let Simon in. I ran into the chief executive of a major business in the sector at the expo. Don't typically run into major businesses at the expo. It tends to be more of a small and medium audience. And I said, "So what brought you here?" And he said, "Oh, I just wanted to come and have a look and see what inspired me." And what he meant was exactly your point, Hung, which is we've got to change some of the engineering of what we do. And so he was just putting himself into a place where he could gather up some ideas from exhibitors and work through ideas. So I think there's some potential here. That it's a brave kind of chief exec, FD, CTO that presses go on something really big right now. But if you look at most of the players in the industry, they've got plays in their playbook that they're starting to move on.
I wasn't going to speak so much. I was going to nudge Sarah, because I know she's invested in some tech that streamlined your operation, hasn't it? And I wanted you to share some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big advocate for automation and efficiency, and I think you have to look at your efficiency. And there's so many great platforms that integrate today that make our jobs a little bit easier. I mean, it will never take away the job that we do, but if you can get your notes automated into your database, so you don't have to sit there every time you have a conversation, then why wouldn't you do that? The time that saved me, and it's a game changer for me. Having automatic feedback at the back of your CRM, so your feedback comes into your system, where you can grade your consultants, and you've got almost like a benchmark. That's been a game changer for us, because we know the quality. We've always known that we're brilliant at what we do, but when you've got a piece of tech that actually tells you that you're great, because your candidates and your clients are constantly being asked for feedback, that's unbelievable. And I think we do need to adopt technology, we do need to say it's going to be part of our process, because if we don't, I think it becomes, we're just making our life difficult. And I think it does free us up to build these relationships with our clients, because we're not sitting there behind the computer doing these things that can be automated. So I think it's more efficiency for me rather than replacement of human bodies. And I think you've got to have a really, really nice balance. And there's some great pieces of tech out there, and I could list them, but I won't do that. But if anybody wants to email me and let me know, I can always let you know what my tech stack is. And I'm really, really proud of it, because we literally over the last year have invested in looking at and resetting our tech stack. And making sure that it all integrates, and it's making us more money. So we've made more money with the same amount of heads because of our efficiencies, because we've got more time. So for me, it's a no-brainer. But yeah, there's some really cool pieces to take out there.
Leslie, don't mention any sponsors if you vendors if you don't want to, Sarah. But I'm interested to know where in your business you gain the most efficiency in your view with the usage of this technology. If you look back, let's say rewind back 12 months before the implementation of this stuff to what you're doing now, what is it that you're more efficient on based on the technology that you've used?
Well, I will mention Device. Device has changed our process completely, because it's your phone system into your database, and it's all automated. It's all your conversations all typed up in the back of the system, so you can't make any mistakes. You can't not log your conversation. You can't not log your interview that you've just. It's absolutely it's incredible, because as recruiters, we all do 9,000 things all at the same time, and we move on to the next thing because it's shiny and it's brilliant. And you think, oh, not another candidate, and you forget to put that conversation on the system. So now it's just made us so much more efficient, and the data's there. It's not getting lost, and nobody has to type it. So it's actually, and it's searchable. So if I said to them, oh, I love you, she says, I've bought myself a new red bag, I can think, who was that candidate that I spoke to that had that new red bag, and I can search it. So it's actually searchable in your database. So for me, who came into recruitment in 1999, had a Rolodex and a phone, this is brilliant stuff, because it means I can do, and my team can actually go out and meet and spend more time face to face with their clients. Why wouldn't you do that?
You see, here's an example of where technology might change the skill set of a recruiter, because back in the day, Sarah, and I came in same time as you, like having a good memory was actually a strong skill set, because you remember names, you remember the family data, etc. Today, with the technology you're mentioning, do you actually need to have that? Because actually it's a search away. So suddenly your skill set changes as to what a good recruiter might be. Fantastic stuff. I'm pleased. I mean, I think anybody listening to this could probably immediately tell how much time you would save if you could stop your recruiters typing up a conversation. And that's just the start. There's only one element of the efficiency gains that you've got. It's almost like doubling headcount in terms of the amounts of efficient you get. Okay, fantastic stuff. Okay, let's finish with a final sort of round robin. It's not a forecast show per se, but we've got 2 months left before the end of the year. The year's not finished yet. There's always a danger for recruitment agencies to write it off and what have you. But you know what? There's at least 6 weeks where you can go and do something. So what should recruitment agency and recruitment agency owners do in the next 6 weeks? Any thoughts on that? Let's go to you first, Simon.
Well, two things. If you've got jobs on, fill them, for God's sake. The fill rates on UK jobs aren't high enough. And I'm really pleased to say that when I was a member of team, I started to fill jobs for other people that they couldn't fill. And the collaboration piece within team is brilliant on our Team Exchange. And there's £3 million worth of fees there at the moment that our members who've got jobs but haven't got candidates for those are helping each other fill jobs. And that has saved countless businesses going under this year where there just hasn't been the strength of pipeline with individual members, but they've kept each other going. Kerry Greenland's on in COVID. She with another solo recruiter billed $500,000 to one client while we were all twiddling our thumbs and doing nothing. So that collaboration piece is important. Make sure you fill jobs. Look at get your November and December as good as they can possibly be. But I do what Sarah's doing. If we're thinking more strategically, go and have some conversations with your existing clients and potentially some strong leads about their vision, their opportunity, their threats, and the concerns for 2025. Because if you can understand, if you can move up the food chain away from the tactical, might be the hiring manager, to talk to a director or the CEO. If you're dealing with SMEs, those people aren't that difficult to get to. Try and understand what their strategic view is for 2025, and then you can talk about the challenges of putting talent pools together in Q3 if they're going to try and make an acquisition or open another office or do something different. But have bigger conversations. And if you've got something like Sarah has got with data to back up your story, you've got something really strategic to have a conversation with, rather than just say, are you going to have any jobs in Q1? So that information's available. I've got here one of the most amazing graphs, which I stole off the REC. Thank you. On permanent placements and temporary billing indices. Neil and his team put out some fantastic data that you can take to your clients and showcase, some of the areas where they've got opportunity, but also some of the areas where they're going to find it difficult to find talent. So look to the ONS, the Office of National Statistics, the REC. There's some great stats out there with Workable as well. So all of this data is available. You don't have to do what Sarah's done in a beautiful, with 6 months work and a beautiful bit of printing. You can get stuff together in a day if you really want to push it.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Particularly, I like the first thing you said, Simon, about being in a part of the reason why being in an industry membership is really powerful is access to these opportunities to, potentially do to split deals and get extra resource and jobs you're struggling to fill, or push the jobs out there and have them filled because your customer actually wants that delivery, and you're much better off having 50% of something rather than 0%. Of the whole thing, and actually a disappointed customer at the end of the day. Neil, let's go to you. One bit of advice, please, for recruitment owners.
Find your client, and that could be difficult because where are they? Are they in the office? Do you have their phone number anymore? But go and find them and talk to them about what their pain points are. So don't do the don't do the have you got any jobs on call. Do the I think you might be thinking about this, and here's some work that we've done about this. So exactly the sort of thing Sarah's doing. That's what works in terms of building a relationship. Worth remembering, I can't remember where I saw this recently. It was a really good bit of data. I suspect it was Wendy McDougall at Firefish who shared it. But most recruitment sales come from when the client rings you, and they ring you after you've rung them about 5 times. So remember, it's deep relationships that are that perform. And then in the short term, in terms of bringing November and December in, it's exactly what Simon said, which is work on your fill rates. Make sure that you're actively prioritizing the jobs with the highest percentage chance of you filling them. And again, that goes to what Sarah was saying about go after your specialisms. Don't throw jelly at the wall at this moment just because the market's tough.
Yeah, great stuff. Sarah, real quick, give us one thing that you're going to do. Actually, don't say advice. What are you going to do next 6 weeks, and then people can draw inspiration from that.
Keep on meeting as many people as possible. Just get out in front of everybody that I possibly can before the new year, finding out exactly what their plans are. Simple as that. And just make sure that the guys are working on their pipeline, understanding what their pipeline looks like, because if they're working on rubbish, it's not going to come off for them. So making sure that pipeline is really quite clean, rather than keeping the safety net around us of vacancies that aren't going to convert.
Yeah, they're the killer of every recruitment business, isn't it? The unfillable, sexy vacancies that may as well not exist. The phantom deals. Okay, great stuff. Thank you so much, Darren. I'm afraid we couldn't bring you back. I don't know why. but we'll have to find an excuse to bring you back onto the show at another time. Let's say goodbye to our guests, though, because we're running out of time. Simon Bliss, wonderful to see you. Neil Carberry, great to see you. Sarah Grace, thank you so much for your input. Great to see you. Make sure you follow all of these folks who've shared all of their details on LinkedIn. So that's great stuff. Let's say goodbye to all of our friends here. Oh yeah, we're back next week, by the way, as ever. We're back kind of in normal time. Of course, we're going to do a special show. And the reason why, of course, we've got a small matter of a major election happening in the United States on the 5th of November. I've got some really interesting stats as to how the brain fooders would vote. I asked them to do that last week's Brain Food. I can tell you it's about 87% one candidate against the other. So I think the industry is very keen on one side rather than the other. But we're going to do a special on that because even though we might actually not get a clear result if it's not a landslide, let's talk about it. What happens? What are the implications for TA and HR depending on who is going to be the president of the United States? Why does this matter globally? It matters because Trump is saying he's going to start a global trade war, get rid of taxes and pay everything on tariffs. Okay, that's a big deal. It's the world's biggest economy. If they stop trading effectively, what does that mean for us? We heard today, actually, Simon and Neil both saying, actually, you can make a lot of business trading with the United States. What does that mean suddenly if Donald Trump turns up as the president? How does it affect E&I? We don't know. What does it mean if there's a continuity candidate in Kamala Harris? We haven't got a clue. Let's bring on some of our friends from the US. We're going to talk about the implications for TA and HR as a result of the US presidential election. Make sure you follow the channel if you want to follow on from that. You can register on the show. It is out today. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. Really appreciate it. Great seeing you today. That was good, wasn't it, Ange?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And certainly thinking about, actually, my first question was, when did it change from UK staffing market from UK recruitment industry? When do we go American, if we're talking about the Americans?
Did we say staffing? Is that American?
Yeah. So they've always said staffing. We've always had recruitment. But because I work globally.
I apologize for Americanization. I work hard to avoid this, and I've actually exposed myself right there. But yeah, I mean, I didn't realize staffing and recruitment was there. I like staffing though, because it is different from, I think the distinction is clearer in my view, because recruitment is a kind of a broader thing that might include talent acquisition, really. But yeah, it's interesting to see how we go. Hugely influential as what happens for next year anyway. So we're intent to focus on that. But yeah, Angie, thanks so much for your contributions. Always great to have you on the show. Definitely get you back. If
it worked this time. Do you remember the last time I was on here? We both ended up as aliens.
Oh yeah, you pixelated.
I had 8 eyes and 5 mouths.
And also sound was bad as well, so we had to actually abandon the show. So it's horrible. What are you doing this weekend? Anything interesting?
What am I doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to see Giles Brandreth with my mother, my 83-year-old mother.
Oh, amazing.
I do like Giles Brandreth, actually. He does make me laugh. He's got such a quick brain still.
How is that working? Is he doing stand-up, or is it sort of?
I'm guessing he'll be sitting in a chair. I don't know if he'll have guests. So it's probably a follow-on from his Gogglebox stuff where he sits and talks. But yeah, his brain just goes ting 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 all over the place. So yeah, that's something she wanted to do. So I'm off to do that, and then I'll be packing. I'm driving up to Scotland via the Lake District because it will be my stepmom's 20th anniversary of her passing, and her ashes are actually in the Lake District. So I'm working in Girvan, which I've never heard of, but there you go, west coast of Scotland. So I'm going to drive through it to be there on her anniversary. So that'll be different.
Okay, wonderful stuff. Looks like you've got a busy weekend ahead and a busy end of the year as well. So anyway, good luck with everything you're doing, Angela. Thank you so much for your time as well. And yeah, we'll catch up soon. Hopefully we'll get the chance to meet before end of year. I'm not sure whether that might happen, but
we'll be talking about boxing somewhere, won't we? We'll catch up with that. There's enough boxing going on. You've got Liam Davis this weekend, who I'm connected with now. now. I'm hoping to sponsor him next year. So yeah,
Amazing.
let's get some of those good boxing matches in there.
Indeed. So, and by the way, if you're ever in London, come in, let me know. We'll go for another lunch or something, because we should do an annual on that. That'd be nice.
Lovely.
All right. See ya.
Bye.